Hi, and welcome everyone. My name is Carol Ghosteen, and with me today is my co-presenter, Lee Lin. We are both product engineers on the ArcGIS Field Maps development team based out of Redlands, California. And today we're going to be talking about ArcGIS Field Maps with a focus on enabling inspection workflows. For this year's 2021 Developer Summit, we're very excited to introduce you to our latest application, ArcGIS for Field Maps. In this session, we will provide an overview of what Field Maps is, cover some key concepts when setting up your data to support your inspection workflows. We'll show you how you use the web app to configure smart forms in your map, and then we'll show you how you leverage this data inside the mobile app as you perform your field inspection. And finally, we'll wrap up by talking a little bit about what's coming next into Field Maps. So what is Field Maps? Field Maps is comprised of two parts. There's a web component, and then there's the mobile component. The mobile part brings together all the functionality of Collector, Explorer, and Tracker into a single app. So this mobile app is built upon the latest ArcGIS Runtime SDK 100.9 and runs on iOS and Android devices. The mobile app lets you view your maps, collect and update your data. This is where you leverage all this new smartphone capabilities. You have your high accuracy GPS location, the indoor mapping is supported, map markup, location tracking where you can record and share your tracks. So by having this one single experience, it helps to improve the accuracy of your data. It can boost the efficiency of your mobile worker as they complete their data collection workflows. For those of you who have used our native apps, you're probably wondering why we've moved away from a focused app to a one app solution. And some of the benefits that you'll enjoy with ArcGIS Field Maps is that it's easier to have a single app to deploy, and it's going to help your users in the long run because it's one app for them to learn and one app to sign into. It'll also eliminate instances of having to download multiple copies of your data, as well as having a smaller aggregate app footprint, so you don't have to worry about running out of space on your device. It also helps to provide a consistent user experience between the platforms supported. So when we're deploying new features, we make sure that we are in parity and there's consistency as new functionality comes into Field Maps. To accompany the mobile app, we've released the ArcGIS web app. The web app is a centralized experience where your GIS analyst can configure and deploy maps that can then be consumed in the mobile side. It's included as a part of ArcGIS Online, and it's also supported in ArcGIS Enterprise 10.8.1. You'll need to make sure that the signed-in user has the correct privilege. They'll need to have the creator privilege as a part of their role, and you also must have existing maps. Now with Field Maps comes the introduction of smart forms. And this is where your GIS analyst can use the Field Maps web app to build out the forms that the mobile worker can then use to collect data and perform their inspections. Some other capabilities of Field Maps web allow you to configure the map properties, you can configure the offline experience, and finally share a map to groups and deploy them to your mobile workforce. Field Maps is designed to accommodate a variety of field data collection workflows. It brings the same capabilities that you had in Collector to support relationship classes between features, between tables, and between features and tables. Some examples of this could be using Field Maps to record the current status of a utility pole or for routine pipeline maintenance operations, as you see here. In addition to supporting your inspection workflows, we also provide the transaction model to support you to effectively manage these changes. For example, if you're working on a new data collection project or in a geographically dispersed area where there's no chance of conflict, then a non-versioned approach works fine. However, you may need to use versioning if inspecting existing assets and need to merge those changes. And Field Maps supports all of these workflows. Understanding the history of previous inspection is important when connected or disconnected. And using relationships will enforce the asset to inspection model so that it's possible. To improve the efficiency of your mobile worker when in the field performing inspections, we've introduced new form capabilities that lets you organize the information that needs to be updated. And this will streamline your mobile worker's experience by following a built-in inspection form to document their findings and reduce the effort of endless scrolling to find the information for the inspection. And we'll show you this later in the demo. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Lee, who's going to walk you through some relationship models we support in Field Maps and help you understand what scenarios that you would apply these relationship configurations to.
Thank you, Carol. I'd like to spend a couple minutes, have a quick overview of relationships. In data modeling, the term cardinality refers to the relations of data in one database table with respect to another table. Two tables can be related as one-to-one, one-to-many, or many-to-many. For example, one-to-one. A parcel can have one legal description. One-to-many, in terms of asset inspection, a single owner can have many parcels. Many-to-many, for example, property can have several owners, and each owner can have several properties. Please note that Field Maps does not support many-to-many relationships. The term type of the relationship means a simple relationship or a composite relationship. A simple relationship is parent and child record exists independently. If the parent feature is removed, the orphan child feature can still exist. It just needs to be linked to another parent. Composite relationships, however, parent and child records or feature are tied together. If the parent feature is removed, all its related child feature or record are deleted as well. The setup of the relationships could be basic, just a parent and child, or could be nested table. For example, a parent has a child table, and that child table yet to have another child table. Or could be multiple tables. For example, a parent can have multiple tables at the child level. The pairing of the relationships could be a feature to feature or feature to table. Next is the setup of the primary and foreign key fields. The global ID, which is the parent, and the GUID is the child, or user-defined ID as a parent, or user-defined ID used in the child. Please note that object ID is not supported. With those terms in mind, let's talk about the field inspection setup and how to choose and what to choose. In terms of cardinality, we got to consider whether multiple inspections occur for the asset throughout its life, or do I want or need to maintain an audit trail for the past inspection record, and what type. Do I need to maintain the past inspection record in the event that the asset feature were removed or replaced, or do I keep the child record around? Remember, we talked about the simple relationship versus composite relationship. In terms of setup, what type of inspection am I performing? How many tables do I require to properly inspect the desired asset? And is the asset itself being inspected or some other related component of it? In terms of pairings, we need to think about, can the location of the inspection record be derived from the main parent feature location, or the location of the inspection doesn't matter. So that means we either use feature to feature or feature to tables relationships. In terms of primary and foreign key, we need to think about, should I use GUID or should I use user-defined ID? So all these are the things to consider when we set up the data used in the field maps. Next, Kara is going to give a quick introduction to the Field Maps web smart forms. So how do I quickly get started with relationships? The easiest way is to create a feature layer based on the template that ArcGIS Online provided. For example, if you're looking for a vineyard management that is a feature to many feature to many feature relationships, so just step through the wizard and create the feature layer and edit to a web map and explore the nested relationships from there. Or you can create your own relationship class in ArcGIS Pro. In the Pro, you can specify what is the relationship, the original table, destination table, the relationship types, simple or composite, or specify the cardinality in Pro, and then use this relationship class in your feature layer. We see the benefit and the capabilities that SmartForm provide. Let me give you an example of an inspection workflow and see how SmartForm was configured in the Field Maps web. In this example, the parent feature is a hydrant. Over the years, there will be inspection done to the hydrant, so it is the one feature to many table relationships. During the inspection, there could be a violation find, so each inspection could have multiple violation table related to it. So in this example, it's one to many relationships, but we will only show the first level to see how SmartForm was configured in terms of conditional visibility, required fields, and grouping of the fields. To open Field Map Web in the app launcher of the organization, choose Field Maps. So once Field Map is open, we'll pick a map that we want to work with. In the Field Maps web, along the left side, there are 4 tabs: Overview, Content, Offline, and Sharing. So most of our work will be done under Content tab. Under Editable Layer, Hydrant is the parent feature layer. So click on Hydrant. Along the top, there is a choice for Template and a Form. So under Templates, pick Hydrants, and there is a choice called Default Values. Click on that. Here is where you can set the default value for some of the fields. For example, manufacturer, the default value is US pipe. Click on the Form tab, and these are the attributes of the hydrant. Facility Identifier is a required field, and we allow mobile worker to edit it. And the other fields are the typical hydrant attributes: flow rate, install date, last service date, location description, manufacturer, and operable. Since we made some changes to the form, and there will be a little blue dot next to the layer name, so click on the disk to save the change, and the blue dot is gone. So under tables, there are 2 tables: hydrant inspection and the violations. So our work focus on hydrant inspection. Again, under template, hydrant inspection, you can set the default value for the attribute. And under form, this is how the SmartForm configuration will happen here. So let's examine the fields: facility ID, whether the hydrant need repair or not, the inspector's name, the inspection date, and all the other descriptions or the repair details of this hydrant. And there's some field for you to enter some comments for this inspection. Facility ID is a required field, and we do not want mobile worker to edit it. So we check it off, allow mobile worker to edit. So it's going to be a read-only field. And need repair is a required field, and we allow mobile worker to edit it. So the grouping of the rest of the field, I want to make it into 2 groups. One is the inspection detail, which include 2 fields: inspector and the inspection date. And the rest of the fields, I want to put it into a group called Repair Details. So let us create a group. Click on Group. So my group name will be Inspection Details. At the initial stage of this group, its content will be expanded. So I drag my group. I want it to be next to Facility ID. So I drag the field Inspector and Inspection Date into this grouping. So I want to name this Enter Inspector Name. And the inspection date field, let's call it Enter Inspection Date. And I want to put a date range in this field. For example, the inspection date choices can only be happen from February 1st to, let's say, the end of April. So I forced a date range. So the date picker will only allow you to pick a date within my range. And this is a grouping of two fields, and the initial state of this group display is expanded. So I want to create another group called Inspection Detail, or the Repair Detail. And its initial stage is not expanded, so I check off the expanded choice. So I move it under the inspection details. So the repair detail, I want to enter the other these fields into there. The drain. Okay, there's lots of fields. So the grouping of these fields makes sense. So the repair detail, the field worker will enter the status of these fields. So I want my group whether show this content or not depend on the need repair value. So this is called conditional visibility. Depend on the condition or the value of need repair, this repair detail group of fields will show up or not. To set up the conditional visibility of this group of fields, click on my group. On the right-hand side, conditional visibility, add expression. The arcade editor show up. So we want to show the group depend on the need repair. Okay. So now the condition is set up. So based on need repair, if need repair is yes, these group of fields will show up. If it is no, then they won't show up. Enter repair node field. It is an input type of text area. So we can change it to a text box. Text area is you can enter multiple lines of text in this text area. And text box is just a single line. So in our case, we'll keep it text area. So the configuration of the form for the hydrant inspection is done. We'll save the change. So in summary, in the hydrant inspection table, we applied required field, we did the group, and we also used conditional visibility to show or hide some of the fields. Next, Carol is going to show how all this setup was used in Field Maps mobile app.
Thanks, Lee. So now that you've seen how we author the form, let's take a look at the form capabilities as you use it inside the mobile app to do your inspection. So the smart form configuration that was previously done can be done on your feature layers, but also on your related tables, as you'll see in this demo. And we mentioned before that Field Maps runs on iOS and Android, and currently gives you all the existing capabilities of Explorer, Collector, and Tracker. Now, the nice thing here is the interface looks exactly the same as Collector or Explorer, and the goal was to make sure that when you transition into Field Maps, the change felt seamless and your field workers could get started quickly. So this map is set up to allow inspections of existing features, and today we need to perform an inspection on a couple hydrants. So with these existing hydrants, we're now inspecting the hydrant, and the information here is modeled upfront using relationship classes. So in this case, this is a feature to table setup. One of the capabilities you can set up in your web map when you're looking for a feature is called feature search. So you can either search on a geocoded address, or you can search for a key characteristic in your feature. In this case, we're going to search for a facility ID. Now, a quick way to locate your feature is by using a barcode or a QR code. And in this case, I'm going to scan a barcode of a hydrant I know of that I need to find. So once the feature is highlighted, you can see that we have a custom pop-up. Here it shows that there's been one maintenance inspection completed on the hydrant. So how did we do that? Well, you can write an arcade expression that can iterate through all the related records and provide a count. With Field Maps, you can leverage some of the feature set capability, and these feature sets appear inside the read-only pop-up, like this example here. Or you can maybe search and display the last maintenance date. So there are many possibilities that you can take advantage of here, and what information is important to show for your field worker. Okay, so my hydrant's been selected, and I can do two things here. I can add a new inspection, or I can look at a previous inspection. So I'm going to add a new one. And what you'll notice is the form is comprised of two separate groups. Here we have the inspection details, and then there's the needs repair group. And independent of those two groups is the inspection notes. And in the inspection notes, we support single line fields, or you can have multi-line support if you need to add further details. So let's take a look at the form from the top. We've got the facility ID, and this is a read-only attribute. I can't modify the value, and that's important to ensure the integrity of the relationship back to the parent feature. I also have some pre-configured values that are required here, like the inspector name and the date. So I'll enter my name, and if I want to, I can also pre-populate these fields when I'm setting up my smart forms. So I'll enter my name, and then I'll move over to the date. Here you can see the date is locked down to the date range that Lee set to the months of February and April. So if I scroll back and forth, you can see that I can't go before February and I can't go after April. And this is to ensure we are within a specific date range. Next, we're going to decide if the hydrant needs repairs. You'll recall previously that we have some conditional visibility set on this field. So if I set the repair to no, you'll notice that the form remains the same. If we then go back and we change it to yes, you'll see that the form expands and you'll see more options available to you. And this is because the conditional visibility logic has kicked in. So this hydrant needs to be painted. I'll add a note in here that we need to adjust the color code and that it needs to be painted, and then we'll submit the form. So that is the form that we configured, and this is how you actually leverage the smart form capabilities on the mobile side. So the next thing we're going to show is an inspection on another hydrant. So I'll quickly find that address or the facility ID. All right, so here I have this hydrant and I know that the issue has been addressed for this particular one. So I'm going to update its record. Now, we want to be able to increase the field workers' efficiency here. And one way that you can speed up an inspection workflow is by copying a previous inspection. So you'll see that I have an inspection done previously. I can select that inspection, choose copy, and it'll copy the attributes of that previous inspection. So we know that there's no issues here. I first probably should update who the inspector is. So that's me. I can either re-enter my name or I can use a recent value here and select that. I'll update the date. I'll change that the repair is set to no and then submit it. So that's how quickly one can move forward with their inspections in the field. All right, so that's a quick overview of the new data editing capabilities we've been working on. And this has been a very exciting thing we've brought into Field Maps, and we'll continue to build upon the SmartForm capabilities.
The hydrant inspection demo we just saw is a feature-to-table relationships where the location of the inspection does not matter because it occurs at the location of the hydrant. The next example is a feature-to-feature relationships where the child feature represents the location of each inspection. And it's also a composite relationships. That means when the parent feature is removed, all its related child feature table are removed as well. Here I open up the railroad inspections map in Field Maps, identify a segment of railroad, and add a related inspection point. Because the location of inspection matters, so we use a point feature to represent this inspection. So add the first inspection point, submit the point, and then add a second inspection point along the railroad. And submit the second point. Now my railroad has two related inspection point feature. So if I delete the parent railroad feature, notice that the two child features are removed as well.
You can use Field Maps on its own to complete your field data collection workflows or inspections. However, Field Maps can also be paired with one or more mobile or web app to complete a broader workflow, and one being Workforce. In the December update, Workforce now supports ArcGIS Field Maps. Here, your project owner can add an app integration to ArcGIS Field Maps from the Advanced panel in the Workforce web application. Once an assignment gets dispatched to your field worker, that field worker understands the assignment and scope of work and then can use Field Maps to document the work in the app. So let's recap where we've been today. We talked about the benefits of the Field Maps web application and how you leverage the SmartForm capability as you're building out this information within the web map. We talked about the mobile application and how you consume the SmartForm configuration as you're doing your inspections. We also talked about the relationship models and best practices as you apply these to your various inspection scenarios. And finally, you can now use Field Maps within your organization, and it's available today on the Apple Store and Google Play. So please go and look for it and try it out. So what's next for Field Maps? So what you've seen today in Field Maps is just the tip of the iceberg. Coming in March, we'll be advancing our SmartForm offering, where we'll support input types and provide more detailed description for fields. We'll be simplifying the mobile experience by bringing some key map settings to the map author, as well as providing the ability for the map author to create new maps in the web app. We also have some iOS-focused integration like improved markup and text editing. As we continue to plan our product pipeline, we'll be prioritizing and shaping the work. as you can see below some of the enhancements that we're planning for the year and following. And to learn more about our roadmap, I would recommend you attend the Road Ahead session for Field Maps, where you'll hear more about the features planned. With that, thank you so much for spending time with us to learn more about how you can use field maps to support your inspection and maintenance workflows within your organization. Here are a few QR codes you can scan to get some more useful information, like details on the product page, blog articles that can help you get started with field maps. And we do very much listen to the ArcGIS ideas for input, or where do you want to go with field maps. And of course, you can always send us an email at arcgisfieldmaps@esri.com if you have any questions or comments beyond the ideas site. So with that, thank you very much for joining this presentation.